Hello, wonderful person. This is Chris for the Informed Stoner. It's Thursday afternoon and time for our midday news report. Today's report is brought to us by BBC. China and Belarus express extreme interest in Ukraine peace. I really hope this is true. The leaders of China and Belarus have expressed their extreme interest in a peaceful resolution in Ukraine. Chinese President and Belarus leader Alexander Lukashenko, a close ally of Russia's Vladimir Putin, issued the statement after talks in Beijing. Mr. Lukashenko said his country fully supports the Beijing plan for ending the war in Ukraine. China announced a plan for peace talks last week, calling for respect of national sovereignty. Okay, well, that's all well and good to call for peace talks and stuff, but what's the chances it's actually going to happen? I hope it does. I really do, but it's China, so we'll see. The visit comes days after China sent its top diplomat, Wang Yi, to meet Mr. Putin. Mr. Lukashenko and Mr. Yi meeting also coincide with the visit of U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken in Central Asian nations to discuss the Ukrainian war. On Wednesday, China and Belarus expressed deep concern about the conflict and extreme interest in the soonest possible establishment of peace in Ukraine. The Belarus state-run news agency Belta reported. Again, I hope that's true, but actions speak louder than words. Mr. Lukashenko had aided the Russian leader in the war in Ukraine, and observers had seen his trip to Beijing as another sign of China's closing ranks with Russia and its allies. Which is possible. They could just be blowing, smoke up our ears. The Belarus leader praised China's peace plan. The 12-point document urges respect of the sovereignty of all countries. It does not specifically say Russia must withdraw its troops from Ukraine, and condemns the usage of unilateral sanctions, an implicated criticism of Ukraine's Western allies. Okay, but what I don't quite get here is that they're calling for the sovereignty of all countries, but yet it does not say that Russia must withdraw troops from Ukraine. So that right there kind of strikes me a little odd. Mr. Lukashenko said he fully supports the initiative on the international security you have put forward, according to the remark released by his aides. Political decisions should be aimed at first and foremost preventing a slide into global confrontation that will see no winners. I agree with that as long as they're honest and above board on everything. Very transparent. Chinese peace plan was met with general distrust in the West. Yeah, probably. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said he agreed with some parts of it and said that it was a sign of China's willingness to engage. Beijing has so far not publicly responded to Zelensky's call for a summit. So he's trying to call a summit. They're saying they want a peace talk, but yet they're not responding. Okay. The Chinese leader called for discarding all Cold War mentality, according to a Chinese readout on the meeting with Lukashenko. Xi added that countries should stop politicizing the world economy and to do things that will add a ceasefire, cessation of war, and peaceful resolution. China's saying that we should stop politicizing the world economy and do things that will aid a ceasefire and cessation of war, while they're, taking places in the South China Sea and poking Taiwan and everything else. So, their words don't really mean a lot. Mr. Lukashenko's 3-day visit come after China upgrades the status of its relationship with Belarus in September, several months into the Ukraine war. Chinese Foreign Ministry statement has described their ties as an all-weather comprehensive strategic partnership, a rare term that has been used for only one other country, Pakistan. This means Belarus ranks very highly in Chinese hierarchy of international relationships, just below Russia, according to the BBC monitoring analysis. So, in other words, China's trying to pull Belarus into the One China initiative. Belarus has been a key ally of Russia from the very beginning of the conflict, when it allowed Moscow to use the Belarusian border with Ukraine as a launchpad for an attack with Kiev, which eventually failed. China, meanwhile, has attempted to appear neutral by stating support for both sovereignty and the right of national security, which are Ukraine and Russia's respective interests. But Beijing has also refused to condemn Moscow, supports their war and effort in indirect ways. Yeah, they gave them all kinds of stuff that we don't know about, I'm sure. Chinese state media has actively propagated Russians' view on the war, according to multiple analyses. The Chinese government strongly rejected claims made by the United States last week that it was considered supplying weapons and ammunition to Russia. Of course they aren't. Why would they do that? We do not accept the United States finger-pointing on China-Russian relations, let alone coercion and pressure. China's foreign ministry spokesman Wang Wenbin said when asked about allegations. Chinese firms also accused of supplying dual-use technology goods that can be used for both civilian and military purposes, such as drones and semiconductor chips, to Russia. Wednesday's visit took place as the U.S. made its own diplomatic push with Mr. Blinken touring Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan. In his speech in Uzbekistan, he noted that the war had fostered deep concerns across the region and stressed the U.S. commitment to sovereignty. After all, if a powerful country is willing to try to erase the borders of a sovereign neighbor by force, what's to stop it from doing the same to others? Countries across Central Asia understand this, he said. That might be jumping the gun a bit there. I mean, there's a lot more going on here than just the borders and stuff. I think it's a bit more than that. And I don't know. We'll see. But I don't think Russia has grand designs. I don't think Russia thinks it can take everything. I think Russia was attacking Ukraine as a finger to NATO, telling them knock it off. But that's just my own musings. All 5 Central Asian countries are former members of the Soviet Union who have trade ties with Russia and China, but they have largely remained neutral during the war, adhering to Western sanctions and expressed unease at Russian invasion of Ukraine, also an ex-Soviet state. By all means, I agree. Russia should never have invaded Ukraine. It's 2023. We need to figure out a way to live together in peace so that we can get off this rock and find better things. Anyhow, if you guys like this little news blurb and had a good time, please drop a like, maybe subscribe. That would really help me out. I appreciate that a lot. And, y'all have a great rest of your day and try not to think about the world too much.